this video, we're going to show you how to replace the transmission filter in your Jeep Wrangler.
All right, so we got the vehicle up in the air, and we're going to remove this cross member assembly. It's like a skid plate that's underneath, and it's not supporting the transmission. The mount is over here holding the tranny and the transfer case up, so you can take this off so we can have access to the pan. And once we get this off, we're going to see if we have enough clearance to drop the pan down without lowering the exhaust. And it's going to be pretty tight, so we're going to check in about that. This is 18 millimeter bolts. There's 3 of them. There's one here, there's one over here, and one on this side. They have welded nuts on the inside, so you just need to remove them. You're going to need a 1/2 inch setup with an 18 millimeter to pull these out. And we're going to start pulling these down now. Okay, now we're looking up at the pan here, and it's really overhung by the exhaust. And I don't see us getting this down without lowering the exhaust, so we're gonna get the light up, and we're gonna have to get disconnected 2 exhaust converters from the flanges up here and lower this down. And even though we can only have about 1 inch of space to lower it down, it looks like that's what we're really gonna need to do this. We're gonna try and drop some bolts down and get the pan down and see if we can get it off. And then we'll know. And if we can't, then we're gonna have to lower the exhaust. So let me get the setup for the drain in the pan. These are all 10 millimeter bolts on the pan. We're gonna drop it down and drain it this way and get the fluid going into a bucket without making a mess. Well, that's the plan anyways.
Yeah, right.
And then we'll know if we can get at these bolts. We have access, it's tight to get to the bolts from up underneath here. We can use a 1/4 inch swivel, but is the pan gonna drop down with the filter and the valve body? That is the question. And that may not be the case. So what we're gonna do now anyways is we're gonna spray all of the bolts on the flanges up here for the exhaust in case we have to take them down, and let the penetrating oil work for us, and we'll start dropping this down. We got a 10 millimeter bolt tucked up here, 1 tucked up here, and 1 tucked up here. We used a 1/4 drive swivel socket to get in here. It was so tight, we actually just wedged this in between the pan and that a little just to give us that, and the bolts were super tight coming out. And then we used a wrench on this one over here. And then the rest of them, we were able to get the regular 10 millimeter 6-point on and crack them all loose. So right now, we're gonna leave this one, and we're gonna take all the rest of them out and have the pan drain down this way. And that's how we're gonna go about doing it. And we're hoping that we can squeak the pan out without having to deal with the exhaust, and we're gonna know that very shortly. So we talked about the 2 back here that we needed a 1/4 drive swivel, and then we needed a 10 millimeter wrench to take this one off, and we have to walk it off the whole time. We can't get the swivel in there. We cracked all the rest of these loose. Now we're gonna start lowering it from the front and drain into the pan here. And hopefully we're not gonna make a huge mess. We cracked all of these loose previously, so I'm not just cracking them loose with the gun. You don't wanna break these. Okay, after we crack this one, we should start getting a little fluid starting to come out. All right, go over this one here. We're leaving that back one in. Now here. All right, so we got our 2 back ones in over here, and it's obviously stuck there, so we're gonna put a little pry bar up in here, give it a little pry, and get some fluid coming out. Ah yeah, we're gonna make a mess. I already see it coming. Well, there we go. Very slowly, start cracking this thing loose.
Why they don't put a drain plug in these, I'll never know.
Yeah. We're taking this bolt here. And we got one more over here to take out. Trying, and then at this point, we're gonna find out if this pan's gonna come out or not gonna come out. Shoots, he scores. We had to take the pan and wedge it up like this to get it to slide out. This heat shield is pretty much the difference of what's going on here. Almost like if we could wedge this exhaust down, it's got a little flex to it, that would help us. But we were able to get this down. Whether you wedge a little piece of wood in between the floor right here just to push down on this, a whisker, probably get the thing out. But I had to pull the pan in this position here, and then it rolled down past here to get it out. We're gonna unbolt the filter and get the filter down on it, and then we can show you how to do the filter replacement. And this has silicone on the gasket. We have to clean all of this off and get this all clean and get our new gasket adhered. Here's the magnet. It's got a little bit of fuzz on it, not a lot. You're looking in the pan to see if we have any metal or anything. We'll show you better in the light. It looks pretty clean in here. We're looking for clutch material, and we're looking for metal residue, and that looks pretty clean. And you want to inspect that when you're doing your transmission service to know pretty much how that your transmission is. So, okay, so we got a T25 Torx bit over here and over here, and we already cracked them loose with the ratchet. I don't like to zip anything out without cracking them loose. And we're gonna drop this filter down, and it's gonna pour some fluid out. And make sure you get these screws in a special spot so you don't lose them.
Time to go fishing.
Got it. Now here's the suction tube on the filter. This is where all the fluid's gonna come pouring out over here.
Yeah.
So we're gonna gently pull that down. I'm trying not to make a mess today, if at all possible.
There it goes.
Yeah, there it is.
And he misses the pan.
No matter how hard you try. Little splash in the face, a little on the floor.
My 89 Wrangler is a lot easier to work on. It's like a big long tractor. Steve's got his P-pads in place.
Yeah.
Back to the
All right.
filter.
So we got some silicone stuck to the transmission case here. We're gonna clean this all off. We're gonna wipe all this down where our gasket material is gonna go. Just wipe the pan down. You can wipe all the valve body down here. Okay, so you can just take a little bit of tranny fluid, put it on your seal here, just so this pops in nice and easy. This is gonna go up, and you got a couple of Torx bits that are gonna line up. You got one here. So you wanna make sure that this thing pops up evenly in place there. I'm gonna catch one here. We got one down here. Making sure that stays up in place. Okay, they're both, tighten them up even. Just a little snug on it is all you need. Okay, filter's back up. Now we'll wipe it down. plate here. Now we got some schmeg over here that we got to clean off with the razor. Get that so that it's nice and clean. And there's some silicone on this. We're gonna get a razor and scrape that off. Making sure the plate is, the bottom of the transmission is nice and clean for the gasket to meet. And you know, now that we have the exhaust disconnected, we really have some good room up here, which is great. So the only spot we really look like we got to clean is right here. So we're gonna get a razor and clean that up, and we'll get our pan cleaned and ready to go. All right, so we got a thin coat of gasket on our pan here. Line up our gasket. Looks like it's gonna go like that. I like putting a thin coat of grease on. It sticks the gasket down. If there's any imperfections in the pan, it kind of sticks and seals it a little bit until you get everything settled down. Gaskets, Tony had set the gasket down on a flat surface because it was all rolled up in a ball basically. And we let it sit while we were doing the job at room temperature, and it really flattened it out nice for us. So now that we have the exhaust down on it, this is going to be very easy to do the install, which is nice. You can probably just squeak it up if you're doing a transmission service without dropping the exhaust. It is tight. We're not going to say it ain't. You may have to put a little bit of a block between the floor and the exhaust pipe just to try and gain you a 1/4 of an inch, and that's probably all you really need to drop it down. It is very tight. So we've got this all set. Tony has all the new bolts, I mean the original bolts, put a little never-sees on them to go up in place. And let's go install the pan right now. The pan is a little corroded. It ain't rotted out yet. You know, when you do the job, you probably want to inspect your pan to make sure it's not rotted. It's a little scaly, but it ain't rotted yet. And we're gonna grab some 10mm bolts here. Probably try and catch 4 of these. Okay. Pan is gonna go on like this. Oh, what a dream with the thing down, huh?
Yeah.
Like that. Let's try and get our 4 corners going. And we'll get all of our bolts started before we bolt anything down. We're going to catch all of our bolts before we tighten anything down. All right, let's get our tools set up and we'll catch all the rest of these bolts and come back and torque them up. All right, we're tightening up all the bolts now. We got them all started. You still need the quarter drive socket and extension set up with the 10mm swivel to get the back ones. We're just going to snug them up. And the back 3, you have to, that was my head I just whacked, the back 3, you still have to get by the exhaust, but it ain't too bad with it lowered now, you know. Just snug these up. The rest of them we can get with the straight socket. You don't want to over torque them. Okay, got that there. We started every one of them before we snugged anything. Get them all down here. As we're tightening it, you can see the grease oozing out from the top here, so we know that we got a clean flat surface. You can see the grease oozing out. We just use a thin coat, we're not caking it on. It's a cute little pan, huh, Tony?
Things hammered. It's New England for you.
All right,
So you're replacing that next filter change.
and we snugging these up. Yeah, we played enough with this thing today. Okay, I'm gonna double check our two in the back that we needed the swivel quarter drive on. All right, we get the filter in, we get the pan all back in place. Wipe this thing down so it don't look so sweaty. All right, we're finally at this point. We're putting 4 quarts in and we're gonna start it up, shift it through the gears, and then check our fluid level.
Thanks for watching the video. Hope you liked it. If you have a question, leave a comment. We'll reply back to you. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Thanks.